Welcome to your Brain Health channel. I'm your host, Dr. Wanda Colon Molfulita. Today, our guest is Dr. Trisha Dibkey, Doctor of Audiology and my audiologist. She's co-owner of My Hearing Aid Place with locations in Savannah and Richmond Hill. I will include her contact information, including the addresses for those two locations, in the description section of this video. I will ask Dr. Dibkey to tell us a little bit more about herself, and then I have some questions and we'll have a conversation about the connection between hearing loss and brain health. Dr. Dibkey,
Yes.
can you tell us more about what you do and the kind of services that you provide at My Hearing Aid Place?
Sure. I'm an audiologist, and I have been an audiologist for, 28 years now, and I fit hearing aids. I'm married. I have 2 kids, and my mother actually had Alzheimer's, and she had it for 20 years, and I got to take care of her the last 8 years.
But isn't it true that initially you thought your mother had hearing loss before you actually discovered that she had dementia?
Yes, exactly. So actually, my father had noticed that she was forgetting certain things, and he was having to repeat himself a lot. And I happened to be in school at the time, getting my master's. And my dad said, you know, your mom, we have to test her hearing. We just have to get this checked out. And so I tested her, and she was completely normal hearing across the board. And we knew something was still wrong. So we referred her over to a place to get tested. And that's when she got the diagnosis of Alzheimer's.
So
Early onset at age 64.
So right there we see that connection between hearing loss and dementia.
Yes, exactly.
Since-
It acted like the same symptoms. I would have bet that she had hearing loss. Yeah.
So that is so interesting. What were some of those specific symptoms that you identified? If you could tell us
Sure.
again so that we can more rarely perhaps help our loved ones identify, or even ourselves, what could be some of those symptoms that indicate that we may be experiencing hearing loss?
She definitely did the repeating, like she needed somebody to repeat. She'd say, "Could you say that again?" That was a common one, and we see that with hearing loss. The need for someone to repeat, or saying like, "You didn't tell me that, I didn't hear that," that kind of thinking it's the other person that didn't communicate it. We definitely see those. But with hearing loss, we're also looking for like ringing in the ears, the turning the TV up really loud. That's something that would be the opposite, or that would be different necessarily than the Alzheimer's.
So I have a list of questions here for you. And why is it so important to identify and treat hearing loss in relation to brain health? You know, in June, we celebrate Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. And I really would like to make sure our audience learns about the connection between hearing loss and brain health at the same time that we learn about the connection between hearing loss and the onset of dementia. Hearing loss has been identified as one of the 12 modifiable risk factors for dementia. So it's really critical that we learn a little bit more about what is hearing loss and how we can both promote brain health and at the same time do what we can to prevent the onset of dementia.
So with hearing loss, there is nerve endings that are not being stimulated. And when those nerve endings aren't stimulated, they can't send the signal to the brain. So the idea of putting hearing aids back on, we are delivering that signal. We're getting the speech sounds back to that area of the brain, and that really helps because we're reactivating certain areas of the brain that with hearing loss wouldn't be active. So that's the main idea, is that we want to definitely, if you have hearing loss, don't let it go. You want to get hearing aids.
And it's simple, really, to do something about it. The hearing aids are available and the treatment is accessible.
Yes, and insurance companies are starting to cover, or at least cover a part. There's a lot of benefits out there to be utilized by patients.
Well, in my case, for instance, my health insurance covered half of the cost of the hearing aids, which was a great help.
Yes, yeah, it's huge. And there's other cheaper options out there too. So we're always working with people. Of course, we want you to have the best.
Yes.
But sometimes we have to go with a cheaper option just because it works for the family.
Well, it's quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, I believe I was talking to you earlier, and I was one of those individuals who used to say, I will never wear hearing aids until, one, I realized that there is a connection, as I mentioned earlier, between hearing loss and dementia, and I said, what can I do to improve my quality of life? I believe that our brain health today may determine the quality of our lives in the future. And that's when I really decided that I definitely needed to look into receiving that kind of treatment.
And a lot of people think it's about themselves, but you really need to do it for your family. I mean, your family is going to be the people that really need you to take care of yourself. I mean, with dementia, we see it where the caregivers are the ones that this is a long, drawn-out process, and anything you can do to help them, I mean, wear a hearing aid for them, help slow it down.
Yes, definitely. Well, and it could impact our day-to-day. Actually, when I realized that I just couldn't communicate effectively with my husband, with Wilson, that was another sign that led me to make an appointment and get my hearing tested.
Right. You don't want to have that frustrating situations. You don't want to be frustrated. You don't want having to ask to repeat, misunderstandings. Yes, it's just frustrating. And you want to be able to improve relationships.
Yes.
And instead of where a lot of people start to, that social isolation, they start to say, okay, I don't want to go to dinner there because I can't hear. I don't want to go to this meeting because I can't hear what they're saying. And that's not, you start to become isolated. And depression follows with isolation. So it's one of those that we want to keep you active, want to keep you in the game, want to keep relationships between husbands and wives, good, and the communication open. So it's a good thing. It's just one thing we can do.
Yes. One thing that has a domino effect, because just now you mentioned a few of the other modifiable risk factors for dementia. Depression being one of them. Social isolation is another one.
Right, exactly. There's 12 key factors, but of course I think more about hearing loss than anything.
What are some of the consequences of not treating hearing loss?
It would definitely be social isolation, the depression. I mean, those are the main two that we worry about with patients. A cognitive decline, if we're not stimulating those areas, then that makes a big difference. There's something we can do about it. So we want to make sure we get patients to do it.
What are some of the fears that people describe that keeps them perhaps from addressing their hearing loss?
Cosmetics and monetary issues.
Okay.
Cosmetics is one thing that even at age 80, people don't always want to wear hearing aids. They don't want to look old, but these days we can hide them. That part of it, the cosmetics part, first, it's not as important as our brain health is.
Correct.
But second, we can also hide them because, unless you tell people, they don't know.
They do not know.
Yeah. And that's what we want. So monetarily, there's a lot of options too. There's different financing that comes with them too. So we've got insurance, we've got financing. If there's other groups that can help people too. So we definitely, there's no reason not to wear one if you have hearing loss.
It's really important. So what do you say, and I believe you just answered this question, what do you say to people like me who originally did not want to wear hearing aids?
I try to figure out why you're not wearing them, or not why you don't want to wear them. So that's probably one of the most important things, is figuring out what's the objection, and is it valid, or is it just something we need to talk about and kind of help you along with the process. The most important thing is, though, you don't want to put hearing aids on someone that doesn't want them. They're not going to wear them. They're not going to keep them clean. We definitely need a buy-in from the person.
And that's critical. It's an investment.
It is.
It's an investment in your life today and in your future. I remember finding excuses to not wearing them during the day. And now, as we talked earlier, my husband and I make it a point to wear them. Is there a relationship between hearing loss and dementia?
Yes. There is a long-term study that was done by Frank Lynn at Johns Hopkins, and they followed patients age 70 to 84 over 12 years. And they found an association between hearing loss and dementia. And the last 3 years, they have been looking at there was a group that wore hearing aids and a group that did not wear hearing aids. And they found that the treated hearing loss, the ones that did wear the hearing aids that had hearing loss, that there was a slower decline. So it looks promising.
Good.
We have to keep following all of these studies, and they're changing, but it still looks good for wearing hearing aids if you have hearing loss.
Yes.
And anything that is good for your hearing loss is also, it would be good for your brain. It's good for your heart. I mean, it's exercising. It's, there's all of these things that people can do. It's not drinking a lot of alcohol. There's so many things that would keep everything healthy. So it's just what we should do.
There's a lot really that we can do today to potentially delay the onset of Alzheimer's, and ideally, as I like to say, prevent it.
Yes.
That's my goal.
Yes, exactly. We definitely want to prevent. And I think because we've gone through it with our parents, it's serious, and it changes your life, and it's something that I don't want my children to have to deal with me.
So I don't know for a fact. I believe, and I have my hypothesis, so to speak, is that in both my parents' case, lifestyle factors contributed to their developing dementia. As I've shared with you before, my mother passed away from complications from dementia in 2016, and now my father lives with Alzheimer's disease. So I felt that I really needed to learn more about dementia and some of the factors that contributed to it, and I wanted to do something about it. And definitely hearing loss is one factor that I know I can do something about by wearing my hearing aids. And I see the difference when I am even as simple as watching TV or listening to a conversation or talking to someone, even at home. We realize that we have a better conversation, better communication when we both take the time to wear our hearing aids.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yes, it is. It is quality of life. It's the way that I really like to say it. It's quality of life, and it is for our brain health. And we really want to keep our brains healthy as long as we can. So one last question.
Okay.
How can we protect our hearing?
Oh, definitely turn the music down. That is probably one of the most important. Wear ear protection when around loud sounds. So mowing the lawn, wear ear protection, and don't put the music in and turn the music up even louder. That is important. Yes. The amount of time we're listening. A lot of people wear the AirPods, they're out, they turn the music up, and at certain levels for a certain amount of time, it's just dangerous. It's damaging. So we don't know if we're predisposed to more hearing loss, with loud noises, but we want to avoid them. Wear ear protection.
Is there a difference between how women experience hearing loss and how men experience hearing loss?
Well, there probably is, but I would say everyone is different. Every experience is different.
And how often should we have our hearing checked?
That is one thing that in school, when you're in school, you have your hearing checked, and then you get to high school, and then it kind of drops off. So when we see our primary care physician every so often, they might check it, but they're doing a quick screening. It's not the same. So we definitely, I think, people should at least have their hearing tested like at age 40, at age 50, at age 60. There's at least every 10 years. But again, if you have, hereditary kind of components with
yes.
Alzheimer's or dementia, have it tested more often. The audiologist will tell you. And it's something that we want to keep up on, and just to you could actually even use an app too. So there's some hearing screening apps.
There is. I wasn't aware of those.
There is one called, I think it's Hearing Number. And that one is important because you could track it like your whole life, essentially, at this point. So and you track your hearing number just to make sure it's not going down too fast. And that one is important because it was developed by researchers that were looking at some of these studies too. So instead of having to remember, well, I have 40 decibels of hearing loss at, 2,000 hertz. It's more general. It's like my hearing number is 17 or my hearing number is -3. So
how can we help our loved ones, friends, family members realize that they are potentially experiencing hearing loss? Because that is a very sensitive topic.
We have to be open about communicating to people. If they're having trouble hearing, just pointing it out. Are you having trouble hearing? That TV is really loud, and I'm going to turn it down to where it's more comfortable. And if they can't hear it at that level, or say they can't hear it, it's like, okay, well, let's just go get this checked out. The first appointment is so easy, and I hope you feel like this. It's just setting it up, coming in, pushing a button when you hear a beep or not. That's so easy. So I would just say, just get it checked.
And age is not necessarily a factor. In my case, I was 55 when I experienced the first signs, and then I let it go. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I decided that I really needed to do something about it. Mm-hmm. Looking back, I realized what I was doing to compensate and not really address it as what it was. Mm-hmm. I was experiencing some hearing loss, and I really did not pay enough attention at the beginning until I just needed to have people right in front of me, mm-hmm. talking to me, facing me, in order for me to understand what they were saying. Mm-hmm. And that's what really led me to make that first appointment and take the first step. Mm-hmm. But it's the same with dementia. Dementia is not about old people. Right. There are people of all ages who may be going through that situation right now, may be living with it and perhaps don't know it, and some who have already been diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And this is the era of hope. There is treatment right now, and there are medications that we didn't have just a few years ago that can help slow the progression mm-hmm. of Alzheimer's disease. So there's a lot we can do.
Right, and early identification is, because then that equals early treatment.
Yes.
So that is so important. I do not think if my mom did not have early diagnosis, she would not have lived as long. She would not have done as well as she did, because she really did. She was open to, okay, I don't have hearing loss. You know, most people, you tell them, okay, I need you to go see someone about this. We need to check cognitive function. And they might say, no, I don't want to do that. But she was open to it, and she got on medicine right away. And I really do think that slowed down the progression.
That's great. Yeah, I reiterate my point. The quality of our lives in the future will be contingent upon our brain health today. It's really critical that we take charge of our future. And the moment is now.
Right, exactly.
It is now. Well, I thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
Again, our guest today was Dr. Trisha Dibkey, Doctor of Audiology. I will include her contact information in the description section of this video. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Click the bell icon to receive notification of future content.